Good morning, students. It's good to be back with you shooting another video. As you can tell on my whiteboard here, I'm doing kind of a countdown here. 17 days of social distancing. Actually, I think that was yesterday, but approximately. And 1 day of virtual classroom is behind us. So yeah, I did write that yesterday. This is day 2 of our virtual classroom and day 18 of social distancing. And today, this is for the world history classes, and we are studying world history module 22. So this is the start of World War II. And also, my husband and I are doing fine. We have 32 rolls of toilet paper left. So not quite getting urgent yet. I do one grocery shopping trip a week, and I keep looking for toilet paper, but we were well stocked because we are BJ's members, and we always buy big packages of toilet paper when we buy them, and we had just got it, so we're set. All right, this is lesson 1, and this one's going to be a little different than what you will see for most of the other textbooks quizzes. This video is going to be a little different than what you're going to see for the rest of the textbook quizzes, because from here on out, I'm just going to set you loose. You're going to know what to do, and if you have any questions about, oh, Mr. Levitt, I don't know how to do the textbook quiz, I'm going to just send you back to this video to refresh your memory. So pay attention, because all of the textbook quizzes are going to pretty much be exactly the same as this one, but you're going to be on your own. You're not going to get quite as much help as you're going to get in this video. All right, so ready, set, go. Next frame. All right, so if you haven't watched the video on how to access the online textbook, this ain't going to make a lot of sense either. So you are skipping videos and you are skipping quizzes. Don't do that. The best way to get advancing through these videos and these quizzes is to use the next button in the bottom right-hand corner of the computer screen. When you enter through Modules View in Canvas, your best friend is the next button. So in the bottom right corner, click Next to advance through it, and that way you don't miss videos and you don't miss quizzes. And you aren't skipping around trying to figure out what we're doing, because Mr. Levitt seems to have not provided you any access code to the quiz. If you don't have an access code to the quiz, or if you're typing an access code that you think is correct and it's not working, you probably didn't use the next button. So if you are ever in a quiz where you can't get the access code to work, just click Previous in the bottom left corner, go back and watch the video, get the popsicle stick number, and get the quiz number, get the quiz access code, and you'll be able to get in it. So where we are right now, we are in the online textbook, and we are studying Module 22. Lesson 1 is where this quiz is, but always before Lesson 1 there will be the, what do they call it? Opener, World War II. So Opener World War II is not a page. It is a chapter header. If you click on it, you don't get anything except for this thing underneath it to open up, which says Essential Question. That's a page in the textbook. So when you click on Essential Question, this is what you'll see. So the Essential Question is an actual textbook reading page that precedes Lesson 1. So there is a question on the quiz from this Essential Questions page here. So once you have your online textbook open, you need to have another page open, and the way I've shown my screen here is I've got my Canvas on the left-hand side of the page, and I've got my textbook open on the right-hand side of the page. You'll notice when you open a textbook that it always opens the textbook in a new window. So drag that picture outside of the Chrome window that you're using. If you just grab the tab, do I have it here? So just grab the tab and drag it down, hold the left button on the mouse. So click and hold, drag it down, and you will have separated that tab from the rest of the Chrome windows. You can drag it over, now put it up to the right hand side, change the size of that window by dragging the edges. When you see the double-headed arrow, you can drag the edges until you have 2 screens that are nicely sized for the work that you're going to be doing. Every computer monitor will create a different size window. My computer monitor here is massive. It's 27 inches. Not everybody has a big old iMac like I have. You might have just the school laptop. And so you're not going to have those nice, let me get this page to match with the other page. All right. So now we have, so you're not going to have this nice match on two sides like I would be able to produce on my iMac. So whatever you have to work with, use the mouse when you see the double-headed arrows to adjust your screens so that you have the two nicely sized windows, one with the quiz, one with the textbook. That's the easiest way to do the textbook quiz, is to have both those windows available, and you'll be able to click over here to make your quiz active. So the first click makes that tab or window active, and the second click will actually do the task that you want to do. So if you're over here in the quiz doing work with the quiz, and you say, oh, I want to move to the next page, the first click on this side isn't going to work. The second click will. So the first click says, oh, I'm changing to the other window. The second click says, oh, this is the task you want me to do. So you have to just remember that when you've got two windows, is the first click changes the window, the second click gives you your action. So what we want to do with this window here is we want to make sure that you have the essential question open in the textbook, and you want to open the quiz and start taking it in the left window. So we're doing here lesson 1. So you'll see, because these have to fit in Pinnacle, I've shortened the names down so that what you see at the top of the Pinnacle column in your grades tells you exactly what it is. So it's Module 22, and it goes Lesson 1 quiz, so L1. So I've shortened that down so it says Mod 22 L1 quiz. That means Lesson 1 quiz, and it tells you what Lesson 1 is, Hitler's Lightning War. All right, so click on that, and you'll go into it. And the other thing you're going to want to do is get rid of the contents bar off the textbook. So as soon as you finish navigating with your contents bar, get rid of it. And all you have to do to get rid of the contents sidebar is click up here where you see the contents icon in the top corner. And so that will get rid of the contents menu in the textbook, because you're not going to be using that anymore. You're going to be using these arrowheads that will move you forward or backward inside the textbook. So that's how you're going to navigate. If you ever need the contents, just open it back up again. But for the most part, get rid of it. And that way you've got a full textbook view over here, and you've got a full quiz view over here. All right. Now, if you scroll down on the Essential Questions page to the bottom, you'll see that there's a video. And the videos are very, very good. They're History Channel videos. And so the first question that you're going to see is going to come from this History Channel video. So now that we've scrolled down, we've got the video, you're ready to enter the quiz. So we're going to, also the other thing to do about closing windows that are unnecessary is when you're in Modules view in Canvas, close all of the other modules up. You'll see a little arrowhead right next to it. So Virtual Classroom, we're done with Virtual Classroom. I may tell you to go back to it. So above this will always be Virtual Classroom. I've closed it. It doesn't show on this screen here. It does show on this back screen here. So I'm going to go back one screen and show you here. So it says Virtual Classroom up here, and I've closed it so that it's out of the way. And all you see is Module 22. On this screen here, you can see Module 21, Years of Crisis, Module 20, Module 19. All of those have been closed out. They're still available to you. You just click on the arrowhead and open them back up again. You'll notice when the arrowhead is pointing down, like it is here on Module 22, the whole module is open. When the arrowhead is pointing to the right, everything's closed. So just click that little arrowhead and it'll open back up again. But keep your work area tidy. Your laptop is now your classroom, so keep your classroom tidy. Don't keep the clutter around. And that includes getting rid of this contents bar, getting rid of everything in Modules view that you're not using when you're in Canvas. All right. So now, here are the instructions for the quiz. These instructions are very detailed. They're detailed because this is the first one where I'm establishing best practices. Once again, best practices means these are good habits that we're going to get into. So the good habits are how to take these textbook quizzes. They're going to be the mainstay of your life in my virtual classroom, is to get into this virtual textbook. Notice what it says, important time saver tip. The important time saver tip is, don't just go straight into the quiz. Get yourself a cup of tea, take the laptop, unplug it, go sit on the couch, go sit out by the pool, wherever you can be comfortable, and just leaf through the quiz. Leaf through the textbook first. Get familiar with this whole textbook. So hit the advance arrow, scroll down, and sometimes it takes a little while to load, especially if you're on a slow Wi-Fi connection. But scroll down until you know you've reached the bottom. And here at the essential questions, this is the bottom because it has this question here. And so that's kind of a good indicator, but sometimes it fools you because these questions stop you in the middle of scrolling to make you think, and then there's more stuff underneath it. So just keep scrolling down until you know you're at the bottom of that module, then hit the arrowhead and go to the right and go next. And that way you're going to read through the whole textbook. It'll go from essential question into lesson 1, into lesson 2. As soon as you're in lesson 2, stop. The quizzes are only on one lesson at a time. So this is just a quiz for lesson 1. So if you reach lesson 2, stop, go back. You're done. Now come back and take the quiz. But get familiar with it because all of these questions are going to have you navigating left and right with these arrowheads looking for the answers. All right? So be prepared to do that. The best way to do it and save time, as it says here, is to read the textbook first. When I say read the textbook, I don't say, oh, guys, spend 2 hours reading the textbook. You're going to have to learn how to skim read before you can graduate from college. Trust me, the reading that you had to do in high school is nothing compared to what you're going to have to do in college. So you're going to have to get the skill on skim reading. Skim reading means you're familiar with it, you know what each paragraph talks about. Typically you read the first sentence in the paragraph, you look for the 4th line in the paragraph, which is kind of like the nut graph or the thesis line of every paragraph. They always start with something to grab your attention, they always end with the most important thing in each paragraph. Look in between for stuff that you might need. And we're going to talk about that more here as you find out where I pull my textbook questions from in these paragraphs. All right, so here's the instructions. Once again, in my instructions, it tells you make your screen look like this. That's actually in the Canvas instructions. Make your screen look like this. All right, cool. So now, take the quiz. All right, the access code is theater. And you're going to understand why I use the word theater here when you get to question 1. All right, so the access code is theater. Once again, I'm not going to use any capital letters here. I have enough kids already telling me, Mr. Lemon, what's the access code? I'm not going to bother telling you. I'm not going to make my job harder by saying it's a capital T. No, it's never going to have a capital letter, all right? When it's theater, it's no shift key, no caps lock, just lowercase theater, all right? And we're not French. It's not theater, T-R-E. It's American, theater, T-E-R. All right, cool. And British. I think the British do theater. Who knows? I'm from Canada, and I'm autistic, so everything kind of blurs together. So, but it's theater. Submit, and we're on to the quiz. Question number 1 asks about the video. Now, I did my screen grab for this right at the 19-second mark. So you can see right about here, I expect, that it says 19 seconds. That's the picture that you'll see at 19 seconds. And that's where you'll find the answer to this question. What is the video talking about at the 19-second mark? All right, so that's fairly easy. Question number 2. Now we are on lesson 1. Notice it says lesson number 1. Before we were on the essential questions. So the lesson 1 will probably have something in the questions about essential question before the actual lesson 1 starts. Now we are actually in lesson 1. We're talking about Hitler's lightning war. Always read the big idea and always read why it matters. Now, those are the things that the textbook says super, super important. It's right up front. So of course I'm going to have a fill in the blanks question that will be based on something really important, which they found it important enough to put in here and call it the big idea. So I found it important enough to put over here and have you fill in the blanks. All right, now there's a lot of instructions in over here. Anything in red, you want to read it. Red means important. Don't skip it, okay? So I'm not going to bother reading the instructions here for you during the video, but trust me, if it's in red in the instructions to the question, it's important. So my sentence here is the big idea sentence over here. Use it to fill in the blanks. And yes, sometimes one blank is a phrase, which means it might have 2, 3, or 4 words in it. So a blank has to match the place that you found it from. So if over here it says North Africa, if over here it says North Africa, and there's only one blank where North Africa would be normally expected to be in 2 blanks, you know it's a phrase that it's looking for. It's not looking for North, and it's not looking for Africa in blank number 3. It is looking for North Africa because that's the only thing that would match my question sentence with blanks to this target sentence that I wanted you to learn. All right, so watch for that. That's what it says in the red. All right, cool. All right, next up. So here is what yours should look like when it's done. I'm going to advance really, really quick because I'm not going to give you the answer, but if you need to pause the video, pause it and get your answers. It's kind of cheating, but I know I spent a lot of time going through this, and if you still are struggling with it, I wanted to make it really easy. Pause, write it down, or actually if you're taking the quiz now, you could actually do that with a video showing on one side, the quiz showing on the other side. See, 2 screens can be very, very helpful for you. So anyways, off of that. Next, question number 3. Question number 3 is a matching question. When I want you to learn things from the textbook, I will sometimes match a description with a concept, I will match a description over here with the concept, or I will match a description about a man's life or his important work, life work, over here, and the man's name. This one here is an actual matching of concepts. So, and there might be a word, might be a phrase over here. And the dead giveaway in the textbook that you're going to... So the dead giveaway in the textbook that you have a matching question coming up is when you see something that is a blue dotted underline. So the blue dotted underline, which I'm assuming is probably about right here, click on it, it opens it up, it'll actually read it to you in Spanish and English. It's very cool. And you can pretty much guarantee that if there's a blue dotted underline, this definition or explanation is going to be on the left-hand side of the matching quiz. So look for it, and in this case here it is, oh, I can't read it because that screen has too small a print from this view. So read it here, see if you find it over there, match it to what you're seeing over here. And the name that we actually clicked on here with the blue dotted underline is the Non-Aggression Pact. So when you find this description on the left-hand side, you're looking for Non-Aggression Pact on the right-hand side of the matching quiz. All right, moving on. Oh, there's another one. So we're scrolling down in the textbook. We're not going right or left yet. We're still just scrolling it up, scrolling it up, scrolling it up, looking for blue dotted underlines. Here's another one, and it says Blitzkrieg. All right, so now we know what a Blitzkrieg is. We opened up the box by clicking on the blue dotted underline. We got the description, find it over here, match it to Blitzkrieg over there, and move on. Now, sometimes there aren't enough blue dotted underlines to make up a good matching question, because a good matching question has to have 4 or 5 concepts. So I ran out of blue dotted underlines in this chapter, so I had to fill in my other 2 question matches with something that I'm sure would be fairly important, but also fairly easy to find. So my next question is going to ask you about, to look for something obvious here. So Anytime you see them going to the trouble of putting in a pronunciation, it's going to be in brackets and it's going to help you pronounce it. That's probably something that I want to attract your eye to, and I'm going to try and get that in as a matching quiz. So that's another thing that you would look for. In this case, it is the Ardennes. I don't even know if I said it right. Ardennes. Okay, so the Ardennes. The Ardennes. Got to get my French accent. And that will probably be one of the choices here. That will be one of the choices here with the pull-down menu, and you've got to find out what that matches to on the other side. All right, and what did I choose for my fourth one? Oh, there's a whole paragraph in there very early on, so these are not sequential. These matching questions, I didn't put them in sequential order the way you're going to find them when you scroll through the textbook and when you click on the right arrow advancing your pages. This one here is way back at the beginning, but it is a paragraph that describes why Poland was so attractive to Germany and why they were willing to let Russia have the other half. The Germans only wanted, well, they lied. They lied a lot. The Germans only wanted the Russians to think that they were only interested. The Germans wanted the Russians to think that they were only interested in the German culturally German side of Poland, which was the western half of Poland. So the deal he made with Stalin in Russia was that you take the eastern half, we'll take the western half, because they're German speaking. So that's what this paragraph talks about. That's what this matching question on the left-hand side presents for you, and you just have to figure out, oh, okay, we're talking about Poland on the right-hand side. All right, so that finishes the matching quiz. So now that brings us to this map. There's an interactive map. Anytime that there's an interactive anything in the textbook, I'm going to draw your attention to it. It's a really cool feature of the textbook, that the electronic online version of the textbook, is that they put these things in there that are fun to just play with. So before you do this question, these are in the instructions, and it tells you to play with the key. So the key of the map, is if you click on it, they go off, and they click again, they come back on. Click off, click back on, click on, click back off, click on, click back off. These are important things that they want you to understand, which is why they made them interactive. So go ahead and play with the map and see, yeah, the textbook is trying to get through to me on how important it is to understand who the Axis powers are and what the Maginot Line is. And the year that the troops moved with these arrows and where they moved to with these arrows. So you can turn the arrows off and back on again. All right, one of the questions has to do with an arrow. One of the questions has to do with the Maginot Line. So turn these things off, turn them back on again. The other thing that you need to figure out is that this plus sign and this minus sign will zoom in and zoom out. But if you have a mouse with a scroll on it, I think my mouse here. All right. So my mouse has that little scroll button on it. And if you put the cursor anywhere on that map and scroll backwards, it will zoom back. And if you scroll forward, it will zoom in. So you may have a scroll mouse. I also have an iMac which has a trackpad. So the trackpad is that if I zoom in, I just do a pinch zoom. So the trackpads on the school libraries, on the school laptops, are you just grab them and pinch, and it will push the map away from you. And if you pinch and spread, it will actually pull the map up towards you. So the pinch zoom is a feature that you probably will work on the school laptops. So figure out which way makes it work, but if all else fails, you have the plus sign and the minus sign that will allow you to zoom in and zoom out. So you're going to have to do that as well. All right, so let's go to the question. It's a matching question. This area of Western Europe, the area of this Western, sorry, I can't even read this. The area of the Western European country that never had to be occupied in order to be governed by the Germans. That's a complicated question. So bring the map back up. You're going to have this, remember, left side, right side. So you're going to have your quiz questions on the left-hand side. You should have this map open on the right-hand side. I wanted to get a little closer, so I actually overlapped it with my PowerPoint here. So we are looking for France, and let me see if I can figure out, it should be right about here. All right, so we're looking for France, because we're talking about Western Europe. So Western Europe, far, far, far west is Spain and Portugal. Sorry, Spain and Portugal. But we're talking about Western Europe, and we're looking for something about something occupied. What's the exact wording here? That never had to be unoccupied. Oh, here's a word here that says unoccupied. That's probably what I'm looking for, right? What's that part of France called? There's your answer. Zoom in if you have to. Find out what that part of unoccupied France is called. All right, the next one is this country touched by the name of the country touched by the southernmost end of the Maginot Line. All right, so get on that's this one, second one down, right? Get on the key and turn the Maginot Line off and on. Off, on, off, on, off, on. And you'll see that this red line right about here goes off and back on again. Find out what the country is that touches the southernmost end of the Maginot Line. The country that was invaded in 1940 after the Germans went up their North Sea coastline towards the Arctic Ocean. All right, Arctic Ocean way up north. I'm looking for the North Sea. Oops, I'm too far over. So the North Sea is probably about right here. And there should be a red arrow. So turn the arrows off, back on, and see this arrow that goes up through the North Sea like it describes. And what country did they invade when they did that? In what year? That's another dead giveaway, 1940. Next question. The region of Czechoslovakia that bordered Germany and Austria. So zoom in, find Czechoslovakia. Should be about right here. Find Czechoslovakia and zoom in. This is a really weird border. I mean, Czechoslovakia has a border with Germany that goes up and around, and then the border with Austria. And then it shows a section of Czechoslovakia that is inside Czechoslovakia, but adjacent to the borders. Remember, Native Americans, when they made the border between the United States and Canada, had no idea that the 49th parallel was going to say, oh, you're a Canadian Native American. Well, no. You're a First Nations person in Canada, if you're above the 49th parallel, and you are a Native American if you are below the 49th parallel. I lived right on that border, and the Blackfoot Indians were not consulted as to when that border became a dividing line. So it divided the Blood Indians right in half. And just like the Czechoslovakia, Germany, Austria border captured a whole bunch of German-speaking people inside Czechoslovakia. And it is called something. There's an arrow pointing to it. Zoom in and find it. And the Scandinavian country, this Scandinavian country that touches the Arctic Circle and remained a neutral country. So find the key, turn off neutral, turn back on neutral, turn off neutral, turn back on neutral. Find the Arctic Circle, which is probably way up here in the Arctic. And find out which country goes off and on when you hit neutral countries. And that's your answer. Okay, see how much fun an interactive map is. Off we go to the next one. Now, there are freebies. This is a freebie because it's in the textbook. So I actually copied the textbook question as part of my Canvas question. But the advantage here is you get to answer it in the textbook and check your answer. So figure it out, see if you got it right, check your answer, and if you got it wrong, keep guessing until you get it right, and then go over and answer it in Canvas. It's a real easy 4 points. All right, cool. I'm sure you won't have any trouble figuring that one out because nobody puts as much effort into anything as they do an effective mechanism of cheating on a quiz. So I made it real easy. You don't even have to try hard. All right, next question. Oh, it's not a question. It is the time for the popsicle stick. And the popsicle stick is 8. All right? So there's going to be a question in the quiz asking you what was the number of the popsicle stick. All right, another easy question. Slam dunk 4 points. Next. All right, question number 6 or 7 now because I put a popsicle stick. See, the popsicle sticks aren't on here, so I'm inserting that question. So this will be question 7. It is asking you about people, I believe. Let me just check. All right. Yes. You can count on there being one question in every lesson about the important people that are mentioned in that lesson. And in this case here, there weren't 4 people that had the blue underlines. So one of them or 2 of them may be a little harder to find. But here's one that has a blue underline, and his name is, because they're all he's, because this is a period of time when women didn't do much. All right, well, at least they didn't do much to get into the textbooks. They didn't do much for killing hundreds of millions of people, which means women kind of got ignored in the textbooks. When it comes to war, it's always going to be a man, right? Unless you're Rosie the Riveter. So off we go. This person is Charles de Gaulle. Now, Charles de Gaulle is a fascinating character. He is French, obviously, and it tells you what he did. He led the resistance. So even though Germany was occupied, so if we go back to the map, right? Vichy, France, that occupied area of Germany. Vichy, France is this unoccupied. So the Nazis didn't actually have to invade the rest of France. They invaded Paris, which was the seat of government, and they said, okay, that's far enough. Now we just need to put a puppet government in place. We'll make the capital of this unoccupied area in Vichy, and we will let a puppet govern for us. Now, Charles de Gaulle was not too impressed with this puppet government, and he was not too impressed with the Germans occupying his France. So he became a general fighting the resistance. And the resistance meant that they were still French people, really, really, really angry that the Germans had moved in and that they had put their puppet government in Vichy. So the resistance was never quiet. The resistance was constant. They couldn't do a lot. They didn't have weapons, but they did what they could. They made bombs, and they spied, and they stole stuff. And they kept recruiting more resistance fighters. This is why when the war ends, and when we have D-Day, and you're going to learn about this, but this is all Charles de Gaulle. When we have D-Day, and they come on the beaches of Normandy, and they free a little tiny village, Charles de Gaulle's people are in these little tiny villages, and they're going, yay, here's the Canadians, here's the Americans, here's the whoever the Allied forces had. And they joined with them. And so they went from 200,000 soldiers that were under Charles de Gaulle during this occupation of northern France and the Vichy France southern side. They went from 200,000 resistance fighters to 1.2 million French soldiers as they moved through France from Normandy. So Charles de Gaulle built that, and it was fast. Once they got on the mainland and the toehold was there, anytime they took another village, they had more of Charles de Gaulle's resistance fighters joining them up. So they ballooned their military by like 1 million men by working their way across France. All right, so that's Charles de Gaulle. And anytime you see a big box like this, it's guaranteed he's going to be on the quiz somewhere, especially on the matching. He's going to be one of the 4. If they dedicate a whole box to you, Winston Churchill, you're going to be a matching. So figure out who he is. And he also has a blue dotted underline. So you have the double whammy to know that Winston Churchill is going to be on there somewhere. All right, dead giveaway. All right, so as you skim through, you might see another name that sounds familiar. You would definitely recognize Mussolini. He might be on there. Just a hint. He's a distractor. A distractor means I put Mussolini's name in, but he's not part of any of these, okay? So he's just down here. He's going to show up in the pull-down menu, Benito Mussolini, and he's going to try and fool you. And if you don't watch this video, you might actually pick Benito Mussolini for one of these options over here. But if you're watching the video, you're going to know he's a distractor, but his name shows up. So watch out for that. All right. Oh, here's another blue underline. Erwin Rommel. So you're going to have to figure out who Erwin Rommel is. It'll tell you. Click on the box. Click on the blue underlines. It'll open up a little box. Have it read it to you if you're a lazy reader, because the textbook actually will read to you if you're lazy. And off you go. Next one. Once again, here's that little pronunciation help. So anytime you see something that looks like they're pronouncing a difficult name, that difficult name is probably important enough to be on a quiz because they considered him important enough to put him in the textbook. So to pronounce his name, it's Zhukov. Zhukov. The accent on the right one. Zhukov. Sounds very Russian to me, as long as well, you know he's Russian because it says Soviet General Georgy Zhukov. All right. So if you make it sound Russian, I could make it sound German and totally fool you, but it's Russian. All right. Zhukov. So what Zhukov did is it's kind of cool. And when I want to teach you something important, and it's going to be as obvious as, oh, okay, his name's Zhukov. But his name might appear on a pull-down menu, but if it's important enough that I want to teach you something about this guy, I'll make it very obscure in my description over here. So I tell you about the guy who stopped the German advance in the summertime because the Germans thought, oh, okay, let's go take Moscow or Leningrad and we'll be home before the leaves fall in the autumn. So they're wearing summer uniforms when they go up to fight the Soviet army, but General Georgy Zhukov manages to hold them, and they holds them, and he holds them, and they said in October, they go, this is a Russian winter, it's gonna get freakishly cold, and we are only wearing summer uniforms. Let's go back to Germany and get winter clothes. And Hitler says, no, you're not coming back to Germany, stay there, you pansies. And they go, oh my God, this guy is a lunatic, but if we go back, he's going to kill us all as traitors. And if we stay, it's going to be a Russian winter. And so they chose to stay and tried to make it do. And they froze, like 2/3 of them died because they were there wearing summer uniforms, and Zhukov was the guy who did not let them get the cities in Moscow and Leningrad. So that kind of made it, I mean, the Russians lost a lot of people too because they had actually managed to do a siege, and the German planes went in and bombed all of the food warehouses. So by the time they got through the winter, the Russians themselves in these big cities that the Germans were trying to take, they ate all the cows, first off, then they ate all the dogs and cats, and then they started cooking. Yeah, read it in the textbook. It gets really kind of gross. But it's right in the same area here. Read what they ate by the time. And 1 million of them died. I mean, it was a city of 2.3 million people, and 1 million of them starved. And they weren't even fighting. They were just Russian civilians trying to survive, like we are with the coronavirus. And 1 million of them died of starvation because the Germans had been so effective at bombing their warehouses. This is what total war is. When you talk about total war, you're talking about having no moral standards at all. You totally become unmoored from what humanity is, and you treat people like collateral damage. And if 1 million of them die from starvation because you bombed all of their food warehouses, tough. And if your soldiers freeze to death because they're wearing summer uniforms and you made them stay through a Soviet winter, tough. That's total war. It's not cool. We don't like total war. All right. The next question, whatever it is, it'll be 7 or 8. We're looking at a map again. No, we're not. I'm telling you where the next freebie is. This is another freebie, but it's underneath this map, and it's about this map. Anytime you see a map, you know I'm going to try and force you to interpret the map. In this case here, they give you the question, and you get to check your answer before you put your answer in my quiz. So, guess, check, guess again, check again, guess again, check again, and when you finally say correct, put it in my quiz. All right, that's cool. All right, now when you're done your quiz, you can actually see your responses and take the quiz again. This is me being nice because you get 2 chances on every one of these quizzes, and it will tell you correct, correct, correct. Remember, this is that fill-in-the-blanks question that I gave you the answers for. This is why I had to give you the answers, because I was going to show you at the end of the video how to confirm that you did it right, did it wrong, spelled something wrong, forgot a capital N, forgot a capital A, only put one word. You will know at the end of the video, at the end of your quiz, what you did wrong. Make a mental note of it, or if your memory is as bad as mine, write down the correct spelling that it was looking for, especially on the fill in the blanks, and take the quiz again and get a better score, because you get to keep the higher score. So you get 2 chances. And you get to check your answers. That's the really cool thing about online classes is they do this all the time in online classes, because I'm not there to teach you, I'm not there to correct your quiz. The computer checks your quiz for you, the computer becomes your teacher and says, yeah, knucklehead, you spelled the word wrong. Blitzkrieg is such an easy word to spell. How did you blow it? Well, you blew it because it was a German word. But there's the correct spelling, and you get to go try it again. And I managed to teach you. Well, I didn't teach you. The computer taught you. So the computer does a pretty good job of being an autistic teacher because it's very predictable, just like an autistic teacher is. All right, what comes up next? Next, I'm not going to help you like this on the other 4 lessons of Module 22. So when you get back to here and you've done, what's it called? Module 22 L1 quiz, Hitler's Lightning War. When you've done that, down in the bottom right-hand corner, it will say, off the screen here, next. So click on next. It'll take you to the next quiz, which is Module 22 L2 quiz, Japan-specific campaign. And imagine that, there's lesson number 2 in the textbook here. If you would have just kept hitting the right arrow, you would have actually got there automatically. But if you wanted to look at the side menu bar, click on Contents, open up the index for the textbook, click on Lesson 2, Japan's Pacific Campaign, open it up and start reading and take Quiz 2, and then take Quiz 3, and then take Lesson 4 quiz, and then take Lesson 5 quiz, and then you're done this whole module. But I'm not going to go on with the video because now you know what you're doing, and I'm not going to give you the answers, except for when the answers are in the quiz like they are. But this is how you navigate through the index of the textbook, and this is how you navigate through all of my quizzes. So go ahead and finish all 5 quizzes. Yes, it's going to be a long Mr. Levitt's class time today because you have to do all 5 quizzes. You have to read 5 whole chapters in the textbook. That's probably more reading than you've done since, well, you're doing an online class. So it's probably just as much reading as you did yesterday because every class right now is forcing you to read because you haven't got a teacher doing videos like Mr. Levitt. I'll bet you are reading a ton of stuff nowadays. And if you weren't good at reading before, God help you, you're going to be better by May 30th or May 31st, right? Because you are getting a lot of practice reading right now that you haven't really bargained for. And before we're done, I have to tell you the access code for all 5 of the Module 22 quizzes is the same. So theater, 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 all 5 quizzes. So every one of them is going to be theater because there's no other video associated with the other Lesson 2, Lesson 3, Lesson 4, Lesson 5. I'm going to keep the access code the same. So if you watched one video, you get to take all 5 quizzes. Excellent. Good luck. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your hard work. I'm really impressed with how many of you I have actually been able to contact and touch base with. There's just very few of my students that I haven't seen online yet. So I am beyond impressed with how many of you have actually joined Remind, been in line, been in my virtual classroom, and you're working right along with me. And I'm blown away by how many of you are trying to get ahead of me. I mean, let me get the quizzes up before you start clicking on it. I barely put the quiz up. See, I have to, normally the quizzes are supposed to be unpublished, which means you can't see them. But because I prepare these pictures for you, these pictures don't actually come up in student view until they're published. So as soon as I publish them and then I grab these screen grabs of them and I get ready to shoot my video, by the time I'm done doing the screen grabs, I've got students that are saying, Mr. Levitt, what's the access code for that next quiz? Let me shoot the video and give you the access code. So I'm going to figure out a way to block off or just put big, huge red letters at the top of every one of these quizzes. Hold off a second. Give me a chance to get the video shot and edited and then come on in here. So those of you that have been pushing at the, chomping at the bit and ready to go, I am really, really proud of you. Thank you so much for your hard work. We'll be in touch soon.